Hello, welcome to TZ Live. I am Omini Odan. Cities are the main engines of growth, which many countries take seriously by placing priority on infrastructural development. Transportation infrastructure is one that has evolved over time in this part of the globe in boosting the nation's gross domestic product, GDP. There are recorded gains evident with the Warri-Itakpe Railway that will connect Abuja, Kaduna and Kano and will expand rural and urban economies and create jobs. Already, there is effort for Lagos, Ibadan and Kano to be highly functional with same momentum for Port Harcourt, Enugu, Makurdi and Maiduguri rail lines. Interestingly, the resumption of the Abuja-Kaduna route with the new normal coronavirus pandemic. Last Saturday, Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi commissioned new coaches on the Abuja-Kaduna route, applauded by economic and experts. Nigerians, a feat in the transportation sector is the dry inland ports to boost economic clusters in different zones and with inevitable role of railway services that will, among other things, boost investments. Tonight, we beam our searchlight on railway expansion and national economy in the face of COVID-19. As a tradition, we will be bringing you reports from parts of the country on the subject matter. But first, this background report put together by Oluseyi Adiago.
Research shows that it was in 1898 that the first rail line was constructed in Nigeria, making it one of the oldest means of transportation in the country. And since it's over 100 years in the country's transportation system, it continues to experience advancement. Changing the narrow gauge into a standard gauge railway is one instance. However, for decades, various rail projects faced abandonment, and the task of reviving it was a huge challenge for the administrations that made attempts. The resilience of the Buhari administration paid off, ensuring the rail sector is revived, functioning and set to link major parts of the country from down south to up north.
On the corridor Itakpe to Warri, that is connecting to the port in the near future and reaching Abuja. All this is to support the diversification of the economy, so that we can go into our mining deposit business also. And for these trains has been aligned to go into the remote areas where you have the mineral resources. So it helps diversification.
So if we are taking a train, let's say of container, 40 tons of 40-foot container, we talk about carrying about 30 trucks off the road. And that will prevent the pressure on the road. And the wear and tear on the road will be up. And it will arrive there before the road.
3 major rail projects inherited from previous administration have been completed and commissioned. One of these is the Abuja-Kaduna rail line. The latest of the completed rail projects are the Itakpe-Ajaokuta Warri rail lines and part of the rails along Lagos-Ibadan corridor. Unfortunately, at the time of fixing dates for total completion and commissioning of these projects, COVID-19 came calling, and for 4 months, train services were altered, hampering progress at project sites. However, within the period, the federal government brings in new coaches and locomotives to address the challenges of its insufficiency pre-COVID-19. With the easing of lockdown and the reopening of the train services, there have been efforts at ensuring that COVID-19 protocols are put in place at all stations and inside the trains, in compliance with the directives of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19.
Train schedule have been planned to minimize long stay at the lounge.
As it stands, Abuja-Kaduna rail line will be reopening Wednesday with a plus 10 new coaches and 2 locomotives, a move that is already actualizing plans of increasing the number of trips from the previous 8 trips of 4 returns to 14 trips of 7 returns.
The train service between Kaduna and Abuja has the highest turnout of passengers in this country.
The test run led by the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, is to confirm how much the new additions will go in ensuring efficiency of Nigeria's train services. However, this will come with an increased fare.
The new fares, first class 6,000 naira, business class 5,000, economy 3,000.
This decision is supported by the Kaduna State Governor, Nasiru El-Rufai.
I have always held the view that the fares were too low, and that's what has led to the racketeering. So why shouldn't the government capture that? So it is quite right. I fully support the decision by the federal government to increase the fares.
Already, there are indications of good business prospects in the rail sector as the federal government remains focused, while managers of these means of transportation continue to maintain that train transportation is easier, faster, and can move more people and goods.
Railway expansion and national economy post-COVID-19. That background by Eddie Agbo sets the tone for the program tonight. It's Tuesday Live, and at some point our phone lines will be open, and when we are through to you, please go straight to the point and make your contribution. And in doing this, please turn down the volume of your television set. Also, you can be part of the conversation tonight through our Twitter handle at Tuesday Live NTA. My guest tonight is the Minister of Transportation, Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Joshua Ango, Associate Professor, Business Entrepreneurship and Dean, Postgraduate School, Kaduna State University, is joining us from our Kaduna Network Center. Good to have you on the program tonight.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you very much for having me.
The Managing Director, Nigerian Railway Corporation, via Zoom, joining us from Lagos, Fidet Okira. Welcome, MD.
Yes, welcome aboard.
Mohammed Mutaka Osman, Professor of Economics, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, joining us from via Zoom, Zaria. Good to have you on the program.
Good evening, Nigeria.
Thank you so much. Well, Honorable Minister, let me begin with you. From nearly completed Abuja Kaduna Rail project in 2015, just a couple of days ago, you have been all about 23 new railway stations, even named after prominent Nigerians. What's the magic? Can you give us an overview of the entire template, how it looks like?
That's a difficult question to answer. I don't know if you want me to do a review of what we've done.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, when we came, President Goodluck Jonathan's government had started the construction or implementation of the railway modernization project, which was initiated by President Obasanjo. He had started the implementation from the Kaduna Abuja sector. Kaduna Abuja was just supposed to be a spur taken off from the Mina, Kaduna, and the Loring Mina rail. There was even supposed to be a spur from Mina to Abuja, and then from Abuja to Kaduna. While there's also the main line from Mina to Kaduna. But he had gone ahead to do they have gone between 75 to 80% implementation. So we just took it to the end by getting it to 100%. When we came, they had not, there was an issue of counterpart funding. There were an issue of, not even, how much is variation, it was extra work and all that. So we paid for that and then completed the tracks. We had to buy the commercial locomotives and coaches, and had to put the locomotives and coaches on the track so that we can convey passengers between Kaduna and Abuja. So that commenced, I think that commenced in 2016. I think so by July 2016 we had completed and commenced commercial activities. Then we applied for another loan. I remember that we applied for Lagos to Ibadan and Kano to Kaduna, because we already have Abuja to Kaduna, so we felt that if we had constructed Kano to Kaduna at the same time as we are constructing Lagos to Ibadan, then what would be left would be Abuja to Mina, Mina to Ibadan. However, we were only successful with the Lagos-Ibadan loans. They had not given us the one of Kano Kaduna, which we are sure they're about to give to us, so that we can complete the entire track from Ibadan to Kano. Okay. Then we inherited a contract from Lagos to Calabar, which has to do with literally every place in the south, and that it starts from Lagos to all that or Benin and all that as is up to Ondo, where we're supposed to connect to Akure. It terminates at Calabar, passing through Port Harcourt to Uyo, Yenegua, Warri, Sapele, Ueli, Benin, not Benin, Benin, and then to Asaba, and then to Onitsha, before it goes to Lagos. That's the coastal rail. And then they had not awarded any contract from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. That's one we're about to do now. These were the ones we inherited. What are the ones we are trying to put on ground? We are trying to complete the construction of the Lagos to Kano. We want to start from Ibadan to end up in Kano. We are currently negotiating the loan for the Lagos to Calabar, just as we are negotiating the loan from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. Now, if you have this Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, Lagos to Calabar, and Lagos to Kano, and then you add the central line that begins from Abuja to Warri, then you're good to go. You literally have gone to nearly all parts of the country, excluding Sokoto, Kebbi, Taraba, and possibly Katsina. Now there are other lines that are springing up. The one from Kano to Maradi, going through Kano, Duse, Daura, Katsina, Jibia, and then Maradi. As usual, they will say Maradi is in the Nigeria Republic. But you need to get to that boundary and put a station to enable our brothers from listen to use our seaport. Okay. That's the reason why we did that. And then we met for the Itabe to Warri, which has been uncompleted for the past 34 years. And the president said, we're not going to borrow money from anybody. We're just going to focus through our budget to complete the rail line from Itabe to Warri. So when we came, there were no stations. Now we've completed the stations. No communication and signaling. We're working on the communication and signaling. They had vandalized the track. We had to rebuild the track, and then we're good to go. Okay. We've also been able to buy locomotives and coaches for Lagos Ibadan. They already arrived the country. We've bought more coaches for Abuja Kaduna, and so also have we bought more coaches for Itabe to Warri. These are good to go. They will start running as soon as possible. Okay, quickly, just as Mr. President approved the naming of the 23 railway stations after prominent Nigerians, the question is, are these stations functional, or they just named them before they take off? Well, at least the one from, okay, those of us will not name them. The one from Abuja to Kaduna, are they not functional? You're using the Edo station. If you've not used that, I have used it. I used it the other day. Okay. Well, if you've not used Kubwa, I have used Kubwa. The Rigasa station is functioning. There is Jere station. There is not Rigachuku. Rigachuku is yet to be constructed. Regina and others that are on land, and they are functional. Okay. We're nearly 70 to 80% completion of all the stations from Apapa Seaport to Ibadan town. Now, so the reason why we named them is at the point where the Chinese company has said, what are the names of these stations, so that we'll put a signpost for them. Okay. So the president agreed to name them after these prominent Nigerians, and you can agree that these are prominent Nigerians. Okay. Before I go to other centers, one of Itabe Warri is ready to go. So it's just a matter of getting the president to commission Itabe Warri. Just to clarify, when most people hear, most time you talk about we are negotiating loan, we borrow to do, they tend to misunderstand all the concept behind it.
Can you expand on this?
There's no country in the world that does not borrow, including America. And again, the railway is capital intensive. But I praise the president for the courage to borrow. So also do I praise my colleague, the Minister for Finance, for working along with the president to borrow money to. You see, one good thing about the loans that were collected under this regime is that they're not paid to us. They are paid directly to the contractor who executes those projects. So we don't even see the loan. The contractor is paid in China because it's a Chinese company. That's the agreement we have in the loan. And then what the Chinese company does is to come down to Nigeria to construct that project. At every point in time he meets the target, he gets his money in China. That's what, unlike the last time, the previous governments and the civilian government, where loans are paid directly to the government. Then you award the contract yourself, you pay the contractor. There are bound to be corruption in the process. Okay. But here, you are not going to see the money.
Okay, you just commissioned a couple of coaches for the Abuja-Kaduna route. What informed it?
I didn't commission any. The president will do the commissioning. We just, what
the
I
coaches?
did, yes. What we did was to say, okay, gentlemen, before the president commissions these coaches, can we put it to test before the president commissions the coaches that are not functional? So we put some of them to test by running it to Kaduna and back. We just simply visited the governor of Kaduna State because we're looking for land to be able to construct, to start the Kaduna-Kano rail line whenever the money is made available by the Chinese government. And just like we've also done a test run on the Itabewari rail, so that when the president is ready to commission, we won't say we didn't complete construction.
How many coaches in all?
There are quite many. I can't say there are quite many.
Okay.
Lagos Ibadan is about 32 coaches, I think so. And whether it's locomotives, that's huge.
Okay. We'll come back to other matters. Let me go to Lagos, where the Managing Director of Nigeria Railway Corporation is joining us via Zoom. Mr. Fidet Okira, you have been very visible, and we have heard so much you have put in place to take off with the Abuja-Kaduna rail route in a couple of hours. The countdown already. We have heard about no masks, no sanitizer. Can you give us an update?
As we speak, a train has taken off from Kaduna this evening, Abuja this evening, to go to Kaduna. That will start 10 minutes to 7 tomorrow to return back to Abuja. While the one that will be taken off from both those in Kaduna and Abuja, the Lagos team has joined them to ensure that the first day, the protocol are properly managed and enforced. So they are right on ground now, and we have used code to demarcate the queues and the marking of the distance has been put in place. We have also ensured that the security agents, the police, and the civil defense team, the manual war and John ambulance are on ground to start tomorrow morning. We have and we are going to make sure that our staff are properly kitted to set example and ensure that they wear their face masks, even with the security men. It's our duty to provide the safety kit for our people, their staff, and the security men, and we have done that. We are hoping tomorrow. I think the good thing that COVID has taught us discipline somehow, although some are still not very disciplined. Those who understand that there is no duty in life are disciplined themselves. But those who will not want to discipline themselves, we will encourage them to discipline themselves so that they don't transfer a case by accident they are infected to other people. As the PTF briefing yesterday, the minister have already outlined the protocols that you have to come with your disinfectant, because the cost of providing the hand sanitizer will be too enormous, because at the time we shut down, we're almost clocking 5,000 a day. And it will be difficult for us to provide hand sanitizer for 5,000 people every day. And it's assumed that at least every person that is reasonable and responsible already have his own sanitizer, and we ensure that see it before you can cross the park to even get to the station to get the ticket. And there's also, you have the approved face mask that can cover your nose and mouth. And we have made, for people to know, we have made paid adverts in the newspaper and have done press releases that were carried by both electronic media and print media. So, and we have deployed men on ground. And we have paid Nigerians to please love their life and like their life and extend it to their neighbors so that we will live healthy and not because we want to go by rail to spread the virus. So I think we are ready to go. Thank you.
Okay. Now, let's go to Joshua. Joshua Ango, you have heard the lowdown by the Honourable Minister of Transportation and also the update given by the MD of Nigerian Railway Corporation. Looking at the economics of it generally, in a few words, what's your projection if all this works in the next, say, 6 months?
It is clear that rail is one of the most important means of transportation available globally. And therefore, when rail is working effectively, the economy will work very well. We have seen this with the Kaduna-Abuja track, and that is working very well. And if that happens, like the Honorable Minister says, given the vision of the national reach that this network is going to achieve, certainly the economy will do very well. Even though what we have seen so far in terms of the Kaduna-Abuja is largely in transporting, it does not involve transportation of goods. I believe it is part of the plan, obviously, because rail all over the world is also used in transporting, in haulage and transporting, especially other fuel, minerals, foodstuff, agricultural commodities. When that is added, that will even bring a lot more economic development to the country. But even as it is, from what we have seen of what has been achieved between Kaduna and Abuja, we know for a fact that rails has a lot of contribution to economics. It assists in so many ways. It assists not only in people moving, it also encourages a lot of other industries, like, for example, the issue of hotels and anything that has to do with leisure. It assists in creating even microeconomic activities at the stations and the corridors where all of this happens. I believe what we have is the right step, the right direction. What we are looking forward for is for this now, for the goods to also be included as we move on. Now that we are going to have also the Warri-Itakpe, and I am made to understand there will be another completion, that is from Itakpe to Abuja, which will now link up, all the way to Kaduna. And that means if the Kano-Kaduna axis is also done, that is from Kano all the way to Warri, given the economic importance of these cities historically, then if goods are taken and are also moved along the line, we are going to see a lot of economic activities.
Okay, Mohammed, you're joining us from Zaria. What's your own perspective?
As we made to understand, and also the global economic scenarios, you know that transport is one of the critical sector in terms of giving the economy a booster. For instance, in the 2019, you find out that transport and storage contribute 1.9% of the GDP. And it means that its contribution is a little bit significant. But coming to the railway system in Nigeria, initially the system is to move goods and services and people. And anywhere in the world, rail transport is the most cheapest means of transport. And therefore, it is supposed to reflect in the decisions in terms of what is happening in Nigeria. But if you take, for instance, the Kaduna Abuja, it transports people, but rather the price is high. For instance, they are resuming tomorrow with an increase of 100%. But if you compare the income level of people around Kaduna moving from Kaduna to Abuja, you find out that that price is not sustainable for to see the fact that railway system is functioning very well. The second leg of it is the loan aspect of it. Like it has been said several times, loan is not a bad thing, but how is utilized to bring development into the economy. And therefore, if these loans are judicially used in the rail system, and therefore to move goods and services, it will be beneficial to the economy. So globally, economic system is a system whereby the transport system is key for achieving those indices.
Thank you so much. When we return after a couple of reports, we told you in the course of the program we'll take a couple of reports. We'll look at the core issues raised in the opening of the program. We begin with the report from Kaduna.
With a salute that commands confidence in the dry port project, President Muhammadu Buhari set the ball rolling for business to commence. Its location in Kaduna makes the dry port a strategic hub for landlocked neighboring countries to have their piece of cake. Now containers of imports and exports are queuing day in, day out, while the managers of the port are getting busier.
It has been an opportunity to industrialize the state in the sense that you get your goods, your raw materials direct from the port of origin, that is abroad, to port of destination. So the essence of delay, which a lot of importers are facing in Lagos, they won't face that type by using here. And a lot of manufacturing companies that have been using here, they can test to this that creating or establishing inland dry port in Kaduna have been a messiah to them.
The industrial clusters across northern Nigeria are already saving huge cost and stress occasioned by landing their consignment at the Lagos port as the dry port fills the gap. Analysts have also projected that the Kaduna dry port stands the chance of becoming a strategic hub and a catalyst for industrial revolution within the west coast of Africa.
One of the pros of the Kaduna Inland Dry Port is that it is linked to the rail lines direct into its premises. And with the kind of transformation that we are seeing in the railway transport system today, very soon we will be seeing containers like those ones you are seeing coming in and out of these premises via the rail lines.
The transformation in the rail services has already advanced with movement of passengers at its peak. What remains to be seen now is the movement of cargo.
Our next report is coming from Kano.
The Dala Inland Dry Port, which was initiated 20 years ago to ease transportation and also address challenges being experienced at the seaport by importers and exporters, did not get desired attention until the coming of the present administration. With 200 hectares of virgin land, the Dala Dry Port has a space of 34.5 hectares, while the remaining 165.5 is for special economic zone for indigenous and foreign industrialists.
It is able to produce goods and services at increasingly lower costs. And by the settings and the culture of the concept of this particular project, the Nigerian Shippers Council had foresight in making sure that the project did not just come out alone as an inland dry port. It has also a component for special economic zone.
The importance of railway cannot be overemphasized. It's very important, especially this time that our road network is bad. And the billions of naira government spent almost every other year, and then the roads are still dilapidated because most of the things that are transported via road are not supposed to be transported, like all these iron sheets and other heavy materials like cement and other things. These are all supposed to be transported via railway line.
Available reports shows that between 50 and 100 people from Niger, Chad and Cameroon transact various businesses daily in Kano. Therefore, it is expected that the inland dry port, when fully operational, will serve as a melting point for economic integration across the sub-Saharan Africa. They believe that key players in the sector must show commitment for the project to be realized. Contractor handling the multi-billion naira project has since mobilized to site, and when completed, will create job opportunities and lead to economic integration.
And from Kano, we go to Katsina.
The multi-billion naira project, conceived to be operated through a public-private partnership under the supervision of Nigeria's Shippers Council. The measure was part of the federal government's initiatives to rejuvenate commercial activities as well as provide job opportunities for citizens. The Funtua Inland Dry Port was concessioned to Mutallif and has been making progress so far. It is to serve as source of revenue for Katsina State Government and Northwest Region, among other benefits. With this development, Katsina State Government has been supporting the project for its takeoff in order to provide an enabling environment for import and export businesses.
Those people that are involved in export and import businesses within the state have a place now to just go there and do their businesses. And I am sure that will provide a backward and forward integration to the industrialization of the Katsina State.
To ease transportation of goods, the Funtua Inland Dry Port is to make use of existing railway system in the town to boost industrialization.
Now you just need to go to Funtua Dry Port and do what is required for you to fill your papers for export and import, and your goods will be at the destination. So equally, if you are bringing anything outside this country, you only need to go to Funtua and clear your goods. The destination is Funtua.
To many, commissioning of the dry port will bring a lot of economic advantages to meet the federal government's industrialization objectives.
And the next is a vox pop from Ilorin, Kwara State.
The Nigerian economy, because when people discover that the railway system is now common, people now use it to transport their goods from one place to another, more people will now key into that, using more of the system. And many people will now have to believe in doing business in Nigeria.
You know the days. This railway is the best transportation in Nigeria. But since over some years ago, it's not for sure again. If the federal government will help us for this railway to be for sure, it will very help us. Because cost of transportation, it will reduce.
This is supposed to be the best means of transportation to boost our economy. By pumping funds, they have allocation accrued to the Ministry of Transportation. They should use it accordingly. That's just the philosophy. There's no magic about it.
Those are reports dotting the landscape of Nigeria on the issues or perspectives on the rail project in Nigeria. Well, Honourable Minister, before going to the value additions to the entire gamut of the entire project, let's look at your recent comment. Just a few days ago, during the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 briefing, you were very specific on, let's be specific on Abuja-Kaduna Rail, the price regime, and also the issue of goods and humans being transported within the rail system in the country. Let's look at the price regime. What informed the price regime? And the appeal has been 100% skyrocketed, all that. What informed it?
Why not begin this way, that the president intervened? If not for the president,
okay,
we were to leave the economy at 3,000 naira. What is 3,000 naira in dollars?
I can't do the mathematics here right now.
$100 is how much?
$4.50 by the last count.
The dollar is $4.50.
About that, yeah.
So, check if you're going to Leeds in the UK. How much do they charge you? It's above £100. £100 is about nearly 600. Is about 6,000 naira for economy. Okay. Here you're being charged $3,000, 3,000 naira, which is cheaper. Okay, that's one. Two, the other reason why there's a slight increase in the cost of the fares or cost of transportation is because we can't afford to run because of what COVID has done. If we were carrying the same number of passengers as we used to carry before, probably we could have left it at that. But now, to be able to achieve social distancing, almost nearly a row is left free. So in a train where we carry 88 passengers in a coach, we're now carrying between 45 and 50 passengers in a coach. So you see how many passengers we're losing? That's how we're losing money too, because we're providing safety. So we need to be able to, we don't want to make profit. We just want to make sure that we're able to run. Because there's a choice that everybody has to make. Either we're on this track running, or we're on the track not running at all. And what can make us run is to make sure that we get back funds we put in to be able to run the rail system. That's the only reason.
Okay, you also talked about the fact that if the e-ticketing commences, the price would likely drop.
No, I didn't say that. I just said that once the e-ticketing starts, then nobody needs to come to the station. When you come to the station, you're coming to the station to board. So we expect the majority of the passengers to buy their ticket online, so that when you come, you just get to go to your seat, because all seats will be labeled.
Okay. Then let's proceed. Now, before now, we quite an ambitious project. You have been to, was it Ogun State, to flag off the you accompanied the Vice President to flag off the takeoff of the coaches manufacturing area in Ogun State. I can't remember the particular community now. Where are we with that project?
We're stopped because of COVID-19.
Okay.
COVID-19 has affected the construction so badly. Take, for instance, we're supposed to be constructing the Butemeta station. It's huge, it's very big. We need about 1,000 workers a day to work on that station so that we can complete it. Now only 10% are working. The implication, therefore, is that it will take a long time before you complete the construction of a Butemeta rail station. Whenever work starts in Kano, Kaduna, you need about 10 to 100,000 workers. How do you get them? Start contracting COVID. That's a huge problem that we're facing. So work has stopped there. Work has stopped also at the Transportation University at Daura because of COVID. But we'll try. We'll do our best. We'll try to learn how to work within the period that you have COVID.
Okay. Listening to Joshua and Mohammed, they'll be expecting to talk about PPP. When are we going to inject full force?
Let them tell us where on earth that the railway has done PPP in construction. Construction.
Okay.
Not operation.
I mean on full takeoff.
Not operation.
Okay.
It's operation. Anybody who applies, and you have the necessary.
So the plan is there.
Yeah. We are open to PPP if you want to use our track. But in terms of construction, there is nobody, nowhere in the world that there has been a PPP in construction.
Okay. Let's go to the Managing Director of NRC. MD, safeguards and compliance, very key to what you're doing right now. What's in place for those who want to violate or want to comply with the directives in place? For instance, we have, before even the opening of the airport, we heard the minister emphasize that the guilty ones, those to violate, are the VIPs. Now, in what you're putting in place, what if this class of persons decide not to obey what's in place? What are the sanctions in place?
The first thing is that COVID is no respect of anybody, and the people that will be there will not know who, because it's that strict instructions have been given to them. The railway operator, the security, the St. John ambulance, and the medics that will be there have been instructed that anybody without his personal sanitizer and correct face mask, not mouth mask, will not be allowed to enter the station premises. I don't see anybody that will be punished for trying to carry out lay down protocols approved by Presidential Task Force, approved by Presidency, in order to spare our lives. So I say, if you don't like or love yourself, you should not extend it to other people. We have, till this evening, we've talked to those people that will be on ground. You know, the beginning is always the problem. So we have made sure we lay down the rules and regulations, and we at least spend some money to put the advert in newspapers, I said. So we will just use this medium to appeal to Nigerians to obey simple instructions to protect themselves. And I don't see any difficulty in that. What is big man in protecting your life? We assume COVID is not respect of anybody. As a result, the 2-hour trip you take from Abuja to Kaduna, Kaduna to Abuja, please, the passengers should endeavor and cooperate with us. Otherwise, they will find themselves being dropped middle of nowhere, where the train can be delayed for 5 minutes to force the passenger down. We have enough security men to do that. So I will appeal to them to please, let's be of good behavior. Let's be, I think it's not proper to say you want to poison other people because you don't know, you can't read COVID on the face. And the best way is when you wear masks, you will not spread it to other people. And when the person sitting at least close to you is also wearing masks, the opportunity of having the virus, I think, is limited. So I pray that I think there's nobody who wants to commit suicide by just trying simple rules of wearing masks and sanitizing your hand. I think with this program, the people would have had enough, and it's no use trying to. We are not doing it for anybody. You are doing it for yourself. Thank you.
Okay, before I go to Kaduna and Zaria, let me stay on with the minister. A couple of tweets have come in, and I'll take, though by the tweets you have already addressed some of it. The first here is coming from Hajara Sale. It says, I want to ask the question about the progress made about the construction of Port Harcourt to Maiduguri rail line. The next tweet coming from Awal Abdullahi says, how do the federal government plan on paying back the loan? Tommy Agida, Honorable Minister, why the increment of train fare amidst the pandemic and insecurity, knowing how times are difficult for citizens? And the last on the series from Dutse says, When will Abuja-Kaduna train tickets be made digital and purchased online? Is it true that the price has been increased, as you have addressed some?
Okay, so where do we start from? Well,
we can begin with the construction of Port Harcourt to Maiduguri.
I just said here that we hope that we can get the approval from BPP rather than for public procurement. If we get the approval from BPP, we hope that by this August we should be able to be at the cabinet. Whether cabinet will approve or not, I can't say. I'm just one member of cabinet out of the rest of us. So if cabinet is able to approve in August, I've done my bit as the minister. The rest will be implementation by the Chinese, but then they have to go and look for the loan. I pray that either before the end of the year or first quarter next year, we should commence construction if approved by the cabinet. That's that. What's next?
The next one is how do the federal government plan on paying back the loan?
As usual, I was surprised to hear today at the National Assembly when it was said that we have even commenced to pay back the loan we took for Kaduna Abuja.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So both from oil and from the running, the profit we make from running the rail will all be employed, will all be applied to the payment program.
Okay. Now, you have already talked about the issue of the fare. You're asking why the increment. You just addressed that.
I've addressed that.
Yeah, you have addressed that already.
I say that the reason for the increase is that either we are running or we're not running. And we're running if we're able to generate enough money for the current expenditures. Currently, if we run at the same cost as it was before COVID, then we will not be having enough money we will not be able to generate enough money to run the rail services. Another reason is that we have reduced the number of passengers that we carry in a coach so as to be able to conform with the directive of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 that insists on social distancing even inside the trains.
Okay.
That's why we're to be able to raise enough money to be able to run the rail.
Okay. Let's go now to Mutaka Usman. Mutaka is Usman. Now, along all what we analyze, we hear of Funtua in Katsina, Funtua Dry Port in Katsina, Dala in Kano, and the Kaduna Dry Port. In all this, if the rail network takes off and becomes fully functional, besides the fact that the minister has said we are still on the construction stage, if this happens, can you give us a projection?
Yes, before going to the projection, the minister has alluded to comparing the price in UK and US. I thought the minister would be generous enough also to compare the wages in UK and in Nigeria with the price they pay. Because, for instance, in UK, the minimum wage is £930, and in US, a minimum of $22 per hour. So when you compare Britain and US in terms of the prices they pay, you can also compare the wages of what Nigerians got. But in that context, if the railway system is meant to propel growth, to deliver the services it requires, then it means that it has to capture. But in any economy, there must be a take at which the government take. Therefore, government must provide certain services for even the private sector to lynch on and make development. But in such a way that you are looking for profit, you are looking to cover costs. No, it's humanitarian services, because it's the services that Nigerians who pay taxes need to enjoy in certain level. But if at that level there is that projections, it means that the railway system will only serve few people, which will also skew the development process of any economy. Having said that, the projections for dry ports that are established in some parts of the country, it will help in easing the transportations, and it will help the road system, because it will reduce the burden on road system of transportation of those goods and services. But it has to be done in such a way that the services are provided in terms of the looking at the outcome in terms of the GDP contributions, in terms of economic growth in the country. Thank you.
Okay, to Ango, you heard from Usman. What's your own perspective?
Well, I agree to some extent that the cost, especially for railway services, need to be affordable somewhat. I also agree somehow that we need to recover cost. My concern, basically, is that in our plans, in the way we have planned this railway development, I was personally, from my experience, going through the process, I noticed that, for example, we're using the engines that are using diesel, for example, rather than electricity. I know for a fact that somebody will say electricity is not regular, is not stable in Nigeria, but I thought we could have planned it in such a way that at least we'll have dedicated some form of power. That way, probably, the cost will have been sunk cost, fixed cost. Just like the Honorable Minister was saying, we have to recover recurrent expenditure. I was hoping, I thought in this century, when you are planning something as massive as we are doing, we should have started, with 21st century approach. We shouldn't have started with the kind of technology we are using, which I believe will increase the cost. In addition, the e-ticketing that is coming up now, or that is coming in now, sincerely, I cannot understand why we didn't start with that. I'm also a little bit bothered that even though the minister said the plan from Abuja to Kaduna is just a spur, it's not the main line. I would have thought for Kaduna, Abuja, to have just one lane, imagining the volume of traffic, whereby if a train is moving, say from Kaduna, it has to stop at Regina or at Jere or somewhere else along the line. I thought for those who are planning, I know a lot of these things were not planned by this government, and I also know that this particular government, the ones that they are implementing now are dual, carriage in some way. I thought, in so many ways, we need to go along with modern approach, a modern technology. My first trip to Dubai, the first time I went to Dubai, they didn't have any rails. The township rail system. After some years, and I went there, I saw they have done it. Not only have they done it, they have made sure that it met the modern method of doing things. I think, our planners, and I'm happy the minister is here and the MD, I think going forward, whatever we should plan, let us have ambitious plans, realistic, reasonable, but ambitious, not something that will not be met up with current standards. I hope that we'll do that, and in that way, probably even the cost can be saved. If the power, the energy that will run these trains is already a sunk cost, you can have as many trips as possible, so long, because it's sunk. You don't have to pass the cost, to individual passengers. I also agree with the professor that certainly we also have to take cognizance of the income levels. Incidentally, Northwest is the poorest part of this country, and so if people are going to enjoy these products or these services, it should be reasonable. But I can understand also why, for this particular period, an increase is made. Thank you.
Okay, when we return, we look at other perspectives, specifically at job creation, bulk transportation, and saving roads network in Nigeria. Stay with us.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying tuned, and my guests from Kaduna, Zaria, Lagos are still waiting, and also the minister is here. We begin this segment with some reports. We're beginning from Port Harcourt.
Beyond the current shutdown of rail transportation, which is yet to resume along the Port Harcourt-Enugu rail line, rail services were at best epileptic.
For now, per se, there's no railway here. The Onne Seaport, the Port Harcourt Seaport, supposed to be linked to railway system. Why do I say that? There are a lot of quantum of goods that are being imported every day out of the country and inside the country. And the tractors, the trailers are even compressing the road, causing more damages.
The resumption of rail services along Abuja-Kaduna rail line, especially with enhanced infrastructure, to some is indeed laudable.
Rail transportation in Nigeria is a very serious thing that it saves people of the stress, the congestion on the road.
I learned it is in phases as it affects railway. We are hopeful that before the end of the tenure of the present government, the one that will come through this way to Port Harcourt to the south will be on board.
A key issue of concern to some is the neglect of the sector over the years, given the vital role it played in the movement of goods and services in the past. Like in the developed economies, keen watchers are of the view that a uniform rail system would also help to reduce traffic congestion on the roads, while also creating jobs for thousands of unemployed youths.
Lagos is next.
The rail is about to squeal again. Assand with high optimism and prospects of economic reactivation since the coronavirus pandemic halted services. From the Lagos-Ibadan rail corridor, more attention is being paid to linking their Apapa seaports with the dry port, a prospect investors are eagerly anticipating based on their ability to not only escape from the notorious gridlock but improve bulk movement of containers.
We have few trucks that will be carrying cargoes on our road if the rail lines are in perfect shape. Then, when the trucks are reduced, we have less accidents on our roads. One major advantage we are going to derive from it is that we have less stress on our road pavements.
This is one of the dreams the reactivation of freight operations through rail is bringing to reality, and in no time, thousands of jobs will be created by this noble initiative.
The pressure we have for people to come and move by rail is more than the rolling stock we have. So we have encouraged people to say, if you come in and we come into an MOU,
Nothing stops anybody from bringing rolling stock.
The construction work along the corridor is put at 90%, with selected jobs remaining on the 10 train stations along the axis. And when fully operational, there are projections that more than 10,000 direct and indirect jobs will be created aside increase in volume of trade and investments.
Let me start with the rolling stock plant. We're expecting over 5,000 jobs, direct and indirect, to be created just as a result of that plant. Again, the track itself is 312 kilometers, double. We're going to have people to maintain the tracks.
From Lagos, we go to Enugu.
Resuscitating the railway transport system is one priority area of work of President Buhari's administration, which has equally earned him commendations across the country. With the successes recorded so far in the railway expansion project in some parts of the country, some opinion leaders in Enugu State are of the view that if the tempo is sustained, Nigeria is close to joining the League of Industrialized Nations of the world, where most goods and services are transported by rail. They noted that expansion of the railway will reduce pressure on the nation's road.
The railway system has been very, very effective. It reduces carnage on the roads. Then the level of congestion, traffic flow is also reduced. Now, you see that haulage of goods and services is most efficiently done by the railway system.
The railway system is cheaper in transporting of goods and services from one place to another. And in the eastern region here, we have so many things we produce. And in order to transport them from one place to the other, we need rail system.
On how the expansion will help in addressing the unemployment situation in the country, key players expressed hope that when in full operation, the railway system will promote commerce and industry. Some respondents are also of the view that with regular train services and engagement of members of host communities in safeguarding rail infrastructure, cases of vandalism will be minimized.
What's the situation in Ibadan?
Movement of articulated vehicles to distribute goods across the nation due to absence of viable alternative distribution networks such as rail is no doubt a burden that reduces the lifespan of road network in Nigeria. Over the years, successive administrations have tried to correct this deficit with minimal or no result. However, since 2015, the current government at the center has left no one in doubt that it is posed to change the narrative beyond mere rhetoric. The renewed commitment is bringing back the lost glory of rail transportation, connecting every part of the country to stimulate the economy. Among such is the multi-billion naira Lagos-Ibadan rail project with a dry inland port at Olorishaoko, a suburb of Ibadan.
The Oyo State government is partnering with the federal government on it. When you generate revenue from there, because we're talking about what impact will it have on the state, that means the revenue that is generated will be partly owned and partly shared by Oyo State.
The congestion that you presently have at the Apapa and Tinkan inland ports will be reduced and possibly eliminated, because the capacity of the inland dry port is 80,000 TEUs. With 80,000 TEU, you find that all the cargo that are meant for the southwest industrial areas and the north central will be moved by that rail line.
As the nation continues to open its paths for industrialization, stakeholders harp on protection of such assets, which requires the involvement of all and sundry.
And the last in this segment is a vox pop coming from Jos.
Activities of the railway has greatly affected the national economy, and also is not only the revenue or the earning of the national economy, but also the destruction of our roads, because most of our goods are being carried on the roads. The weight is above the quality of the roads. Rail system, there's no shortcut to actually impact the economy and the transport system of this country is inevitable. It must be done.
Big trucks making life difficult for smaller cars and all of these things. I'm just saying that if our railways are revamped, it's going to be a good, exciting news for the nation.
Yes, Honorable Minister, you heard the reports, and before I take you on the next question, a couple of tweets came in, just two, and they are directed strictly at you. The first is coming from Bala Danladi. It says, Honorable Minister, good evening, sir. The Buhari administration is very lucky to have you as minister. We reside here in Rivers. We know what you can do. You open Rivers to the world, and now you are making Nigeria great. May Allah keep and bless you. Snow says, in regards to digital transformation, how does the ministry plan to approach e-ticketing and digital purchasing of passengers' fare? Are there opportunities for tech companies to offer proposals to implement such digital platforms?
We've already approved one for Abuja Kaduna. So we'll be likely to advertise for the other ones very soon. That's where it is. Because we need to digitalize. It eliminates corruption, both on the side of the passengers and the side of government, because the money is paid directly to the account of the ministry, of NRC. And then all those who do ticket racketeering will not have that opportunity anymore. So, good idea. Thank him for me. But let me take on the professor who spoke. It was good that he said I should compare UK with Nigeria because of the differences in wages. But he will also agree that either the train is on the track or it's not on the track. We can't. When we started running the train, we were subsidizing the train at 90%. Monthly recorded expenditure was at 56 million, and every month we were only getting 16 million. It was only when people found there was too much pressure that they began to use the train, and people were even standing, that we began to make 120 million in a month, and we spent like 90 million naira in a month. So how much is the profit for profits, if any? 30 million in a month. Now you will not make profit. In fact, it is not part of it. What we are pursuing is the necessity to put the train on the track. And the only way you can put the train on the track is that you must have that 90 million. But now you have to have more than 90 million because we brought more than 20 coaches into Abuja to ease the traffic that we pass through, especially those who stand when they are going to Kaduna or when they are coming back to Abuja. You talked about, what do you want me to answer you?
You have treated that. You have treated it already.
No, I've treated that.
The other one basically is you can't discuss rail without veering off to other areas. Mm-hmm. One of the reports was very specific about the ports. So I ask, what are your plans to make ports outside Lagos more viable?
It's not even the fact that there are ports in Lagos that's making the others not to be viable. No, it's just because there are issues of insecurity. When you say it's governors in the south will say, oh, how do you want us, why is there no insecurity in the other areas? The reason why people anchor in Lagos is because there is no insecurity in the waters of Lagos. So whoever is saying that Minister of Transport, who by the way is from South, is talking about insecurity in the waters in the South, and therefore is making South look bad, must, with all respect to the office of the governor, he needs to think twice. When I was a governor and I get this kind of report, I would address the insecurity. So I will see what the governor minister will say the next time. Now, as a minister from the South, the seaports are in the South. The only one in the Southwest is there are two in the Southwest, Apapa and the Tinker, and the rest of them out of the 6, the 4 of them are in the South. So I should rather make efforts to get them to work. But it's difficult to get them to work because those who import decide where to take their cargoes to. And those who import into Onitsha and Aba are willing to take their cargoes to either Warri or Port Harcourt. But unfortunately, that's where you have the highest level of insecurity in the world. And I repeat, in the world. I didn't say in Nigeria. In the world. Especially around Bonny axis. That's where we suffer the most. So we're making efforts. Even though one man who comes from Edo is making things difficult, pushing petitions here and there to stop the company we awarded the contract from doing security work just because of him alone, which we are hoping to address very soon. Now, if you don't address security, you don't get the seaport working in the south. So we must address it, and we're not minding what the governor say. I won't care about that. What's important is that we're able to restore security in the water to enable people import into the remaining seaports. Because we're actually going to build a seaport in Bonny, and we're going to build another one in Warri, while the Akwa Ibom governor is trying to build a deep seaport. But they must provide security before these things can function properly. Which other question? Okay, you talked about this.
But we cannot talk real without going to other. I'll still take you on other areas. Let's take this. Our first caller tonight is calling from Ibadan. Hello. Are we still on with him?
COVID.
Go ahead, please.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Can I go on?
Go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, thank you very much, sir. Yes. Okay. Good evening, sir. Minister, sir.
Please don't listen to us. Go ahead, please.
Minister.
I can hear you.
Go ahead.
So, what I wanted to... Okay.
Please don't listen to yourself. Go ahead and ask your question.
I want to bring it to your notice, sir. That is, Minister. I want to bring it to your notice, sir. Please, sir. I'm always happy to see you in action, sir. As far as the rail line is concerned in this our country, sir. Please, I believe that you agree with me that there is a power of darkness. Maybe disturbing the progress of this country, sir. Right from the Aso Rock or Aso Villa there, sir. So anything of your plan or this administration's plan, the administration of Baba Buhari's plan, please, I want you, as you are planning, as government is planning, I want you to take note of that area where I just mentioned, the power of darkness that has been disturbing the progress of this country, sir, please. So that is that. Let me now come back to the what we are talking about in terms of railway line. Please, I want you and Muhammadu Buhari's administration to succeed in this railway something, please, sir. Please, I want to beg you. Because, let me tell you my experience, sir. When I traveled to Makurdi, so as I traveled to Makurdi, somebody was pricing the yam, tuber of yam, by my side. So by the time the person priced the yam, I just hear 1,000 naira. The tuber of yam, that's about more than 60 on the ground. The woman says 1,000 naira. I say, 1,000 naira. Me that came from Ibadan, travel to Makurdi, 1,000. I say, this number of yam, if it is in Ibadan, you don't talk of 30,000 naira. I said 1,000 naira. So I felt as if for me, for the railway to be in action by then. So if railway is working, what do you think, sir? I wouldn't mind to travel from Ibadan to Makurdi to pack yam down to Ibadan here for my consumption. You can see how life will be better for the masses of this country, sir, if the railway is functioning very well, sir. Please, sir, you just have to succeed. By the special grace of God, you will succeed. This government will succeed, sir. Please, sir. Please, sir. Please, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. Our first caller from Ibadan. Well, before I allow the minister to address some of the issues we need to take him on, let's go to our Kaduna studio where Ango has been waiting. Ango, you heard the reports, and all we saw was a juxtaposition between rail infrastructure and saving roads. And the last caller just made an economic analysis which said he saw 1,000 worth of yams in Makurdi, but could not lift them. If the rail system was working, he would have packed as much as yam worth 30,000 naira. How do you just oppose this from the economic perspective?
I mean, basically, that is the beauty of rail. Like has been stated earlier, is cheaper than other means of transportation. When the rails were working very well in the 60s, in the 70s, goods were moving easily, and the disparity in prices was not that much. From the 1980s, we started to have challenges, and by the 1990s, everything crashed. And so if we get our act together, and I mean our act both in human movement and as well as goods, I believe a lot of distances will have been covered. I think the dream, as far as this government is concerned, is a very good one. We are limited, obviously, by resources. You know, we don't have that much resources available. Personally, I don't mind, you know, that we borrow as much as possible if it is for rails, because rails is something that will last for over 100 years. I have seen a particular train station in UK that was over 100 years, built over 100 years, that is still there. You know, you are just updating it daily. So rail is the way to go. And I think this government, so far, we have not seen any government that has been that serious, you know, in terms of rail development. The dream is big. The resources are limited. That is just the challenge. But like the Honorable Minister said, but for COVID, they will have a completed agreement as per the Eastern Line, which starts from Port Harcourt, and also the Lagos-Calabar line. I think I read somewhere why they said the Lagos-Calabar line, the Russians were interested in it. Anything we can do, you know, to make these things happen, I think that's the way to go. But like I said earlier, I hope in design, in doing our designs, I'm a layman, but I hope in designs, in terms of even the stock, you know, the railway stock and everything, we should go for the latest, you know, the modern, you know, the, like I said, not the one that will use diesel, but the one that will use other alternative sources of power, so that it will be cheaper for everybody, you know, in the long run. So I think, you know, agric will improve substantially if the rails are working very well. So, and food will be available everywhere, fresh, you know, and cheaper, certainly, just like the caller said. Thank you.
Okay. I'll be going to Mutaka and Fided if they are back on Zoom, but let me quickly take the minister on this. As much as we're discussing rail, what are you doing about security in our waterways?
I'll quickly address two issues first. First, to say that when the last professor talked about modern technology, even diesel is part of the modern technology. What he's saying is that instead of using diesel engine, we should use electricity, engine that drives by electricity.
Okay, just a minute. Let's take this caller from Abuja, Cyril, before you conclude. Oh, we lost it.
Okay. So, if you look at construction from Lagos to Ibadan, we are putting gantries, which enables you to run by electricity, even though we don't have power. So anytime power improves, all you need to do is hook up to the gantries and run your train. It has nothing to even to do with the engine. It's just a matter of putting the necessary gantries that can propel the engine to run by means of electricity. That's one. Security. I feel there's one man from Edo State who has been writing petitions here and there, who is making huge amount of money. NTA gave me the record that they have made $17 million since January to today, and that money is not paid to the federal government. They are frustrating the Ministry of Transport just because they are making money from the insecurity. But I think the federal government must address it, because Nigerians cannot continue to lose and be notorious in the world as the number one country in the world for insecurity. There's a contract we've awarded, $195 million. This man wants us to abandon that contract because of him. So, yes, that contract must be executed, and we're executing that contract now. When we finish executing, in fact, to the point where he wrote a petition to the National Assembly, and the National Assembly has written to BPP not to allow. I don't know where the law comes that people will be told by the National Assembly not to proceed to give what do you call it, certificate of no objection. Okay. That's one. Two, I have said here, and I said it yesterday at the National Assembly, the investigations being carried out by the National Assembly may frustrate the contracts or the loan agreement between us and China from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. So if tomorrow we're not able to construct Port Harcourt to Maiduguri because we didn't get the loan, it is because of those investigations. I have played with National Assembly, you can investigate, allow us to get the loans first. If they stop the work from Ibadan to Kano, it's because of those investigations. I have spoken to them to say, allow us get the loan first, then you can commence your investigation. Lagos to Calabar, the same. What is primary is national interest. It's not about listen. If you think there's corruption, fine, investigate corruption. But we're saying, can we conclude, because there's a pressure affecting the Chinese government in which they are talking to us directly and saying, look, if there's a problem here, we can't proceed. They must allow us to proceed so that we can at least achieve that objective. So when they say, oh, construct Lagos to Ibadan, or Lagos to Kano, construct Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, construct Lagos to Calabar, all those three, you have approvals. So you're at the point of negotiating for loans. And then it looks as if the government is no longer interested in those loans when we are summoned to the National Assembly to come and address those loans. Or people get up and say, we've signed loans in Chinese language as if we're experts in Chinese language.
Well, just coming in is the update on COVID-19. Reports by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control shows that 624 new confirmed cases. Going by the figure, Lagos has 212 cases, followed by Oyo with 69, Niger 49, Kano and Osun 37 each, and FCT with 35 cases, while Nasarawa State has the least of 2. This brings the total figure of confirmed cases to 41,804, 18,764 discharged, and 864 deaths. That's the COVID-19 update. And if the MD of Nigeria Railway Corporation is up, we'll go to him. But before then, let's continue with some reports. And the next report is coming from Ajaokuta.
Upon taking over the mantle of leadership in 2015, the President Muhammadu Buhari administration demonstrated a strong determination to rejuvenate the Nigeria moribund railway system, while also reinforcing the development of gas infrastructure in some parts of the country. But little did the people realize the emerging huge impact expansion of the Itakpe-Warri Railway would have on the Ajaokuta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline project, and by extension, the economy post-COVID pandemic. With so much domestic production taking place in different factories domiciled in Ajaokuta and the establishment of the AKK gas pipeline project, it is expected that the Ajaokuta-Itakpe-Warri railway line will serve as an alternative means of moving natural gas to feed gas-based industries operating along rail lines connecting Kogi, Edo, Delta, the FCT, and ultimately Kaduna.
It is going to boost the national economy because a lot of things can be done.
For me, it's what I would call a big deal. It's a big deal in the sense that I'm aware of the sensitivity and the imports of this project.
Regarded as the central economic belt of the country, the Ajaokuta-Itakpe standard gauge has the capacity for 4 trains of 32 wagons and the potential of achieving 64 wagons of 8 trains and even more. An opportunity the Ajaokuta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline project will have to leverage on to move 11,000 volumes and more of the product in rail tanker cars to the supply end and loading terminals.
Let's now proceed to Warri.
Workers putting finishing touches to the coupling of the newly acquired 10 coaches for the Agbo railway station. Apart from the initial design for freight services 30 years ago, the present administration has within 2 years transformed the line to passenger services. This train station is expected to take off with 10 coaches, of course, which will take over 800 passengers, but in observance of the COVID-19 protocols, the number of passengers will be restricted to 400 when it comes to full operation. The 312-kilometer rail track from Warri to Itakpe in Kogi State, which is strategic to the transportation of goods and services, has 11 adjoining substations. This latest development has been applauded by Deltans who believe that the railway line will reduce the burden on road transportation and boost economic activities.
I'm glad this thing is coming in my time. I'll see it before I go, and hopefully it will develop further. By the time maybe another line comes here from Port Harcourt to Lagos, joining this place, you can imagine what this town is going to be.
I am quite happy that Warri, being a commercial city, linking up to other cities in the north is a welcome development. So with our women going to the north to do buying of goods and other things, bringing them home, I think is going to ease their transportation and their total cost of doing business. So it's a welcome development.
I've no doubt that between Warri, Itakpe and Abo, that we are going to have the type of boom that we have never experienced before in any of these axes in Nigeria. My plea is that this railway line should cut across the whole of Nigeria.
The Agbo railway station has the state-of-the-art locomotive repair workshop, administrative building, communication room, and medical units, amongst others.
The next is a vox pop from Zamfara State.
In transporting our goods from one place to another is in cheaper way, but the problem is our railway now is not running well.
Our laborers there are doing work. They'll get what to eat, and even our people who go to school, they will get work there.
We will pay this lower cost of the price of transportation, and there is security.
Even bring the set of new railway system, we can actually benefit and improve the economic situation, not only in Zamfara State, but the whole Nigeria at all.
The next is also a vox pop coming from Aba.
Railway is no longer functioning, and railway is one of the cheapest transports that can help the poor masses as well today. So I am appealing that the federal government should please reactivate Nigerian Railway.
I can't remember for almost 10 years, 20 years I was passing through the railway. I can't remember I recorded any accident.
In the 1950s, 60s, 70s, that railway alone was actually contributing much to economic mainstay of the old eastern region.
Those are the reports, and we must say our guests from Zaria and the one from Lagos, we can't join them now. The signals have been a bit challenged, so I'll just depend on the Honourable Minister and our guest from the Katna Network Center. But Honourable Minister, a couple of tweets came in while the reports were on, and the first is coming from Prince Eduke. It says, do we have a blueprint for a rail system that shows current and future plans that is available for public viewing and maybe PPP?
Well, I say so. When I was talking about that the railway modernization project was initiated by Obasanjo, it's not by word of mouth, it's by documentation.
Yeah.
All that is in place. Even the feasibility studies are also in place. So what remains is to see which company and which country can afford the resources to construct, and we're willing to go with them. Anytime we have money, we can then do it. I think that we lost the opportunity when Obasanjo handed over, because at that point we had money. We could have done all this construction. If we had $68 billion savings in the SS crude account, all you needed to do railway all over the country was about $46 billion. So you could have finished all this by that time. So what we're doing now, when I hear people criticize our government, my usual response is, well, there's nothing you can do. Once you're there, you must be criticized. But if you compare the situations, you look at the fact that here we're literally eking out a living. And then the oil price was at 110, 120, 114, and they had money to proceed. But we're proceeding without funds, other than loans. And we're mindful of national interest. I completely respect the president for his desire to carry on despite the criticism, especially when it comes to taking off loans. And those loans, I emphasize, are not given to the federal government or staff of the federal government. They are paid directly to the contractors by the Chinese government. And I thank the Chinese government for that. In fact, they have put a policy in place that we must open an escrow account where we will pay money with which we will refund them for every loan they will give us from now henceforth. So we're going to do that, and we're about to do that for Ibadan to Kaduna to Abuja. We're about to do that. We're about to open one. We've been directed to open one for Ibadan to Kano, so that as construction commences and as they conclude and we start running, we'll begin to pay money into that account for us to be able to pay back. So I think if you look at the things we've done so far on railway, there's a saying that the lizard in my village, the red-necked lizard, fell from the Iroko tree, landed on the ground, looked left, nobody praised him, looked right, nobody praised him, he just turned and said, I've tried. I think I would say a similar thing. To have constructed Lagos Ibadan in 3 to 4 years, he completed Itape to Warri. You know, when people say, oh, there's nothing happening in the south, and I say 90% of the rail from Itape to Warri are between Edo and Delta, and I don't know if Edo and Delta are not part of the south. Okay. I'm just told here that the president has approved that we'll commence loan negotiation for Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, passing through the southeast to the northeast from Port Harcourt. Just as he has also approved that we'll commence the discussion, he was with us in Russia, in Sochi, to discuss with the Russian president on the possibility of bringing funds to construct Lagos to Calabar. And that's under negotiation.
Okay. The next one talks about, coming from DG, the impact of COVID-19 on the Lagos-Ibadan rail completion cannot be understated. However, do we have a new timeline for its completion and operation?
No, it's not possible. I like the word operation.
Okay.
We are considering whether we should introduce the trains without necessarily having to use the stations. The implication therefore is that we will actually stop at stations, but we will not have a seat to sit down. You will just pass through the station into the train and we'll move. We are considering that. If we agree on that, then we would request that the president permits us to start running from Lagos to Ibadan.
Okay. Meliga says, good evening, sir. Please help me ask the minister, does he have any plan to link Lokoja and Abuja by rail to help reduce the congestion within Abuja, whereby people can stay in Lokoja and its environs and work in Abuja? Thank you so much, Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi.
That contract has been awarded. The problem is raising the funds. The contract is from Abuja to Itape, to link Itape to Warri, and with a new seaport in Warri. You know, most people think that rail transportation is for passengers. It's not. Like the professor said, it's for cargo. Unfortunately, like he said, we don't have wagons for Kaduna, Abuja. We do. The problem is, what are they producing? I thought what he will address is production, because having constructed the rails, we have wagons, we have coaches. If we see that there are goods to be transported from Kaduna to Abuja, we will bring in wagons. Because there are no goods to be transported from Kaduna to Abuja, what we have done is to keep one coach for anybody who has anything to convey, to carry to Abuja or to carry to Kaduna. The moment we see the volume of cargo has increased between Kaduna and Abuja, we'll bring in wagons from Lagos.
Okay, we have this caller from Yenegua, David West. Hello, David West. Hello, David West.
Thank you very much. Good evening to the Honorable Minister. Now, you see, Honorable Minister, yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
Okay, my submission to the Honorable Minister is that while growing up as a young child those days in Port Harcourt, I used to see train run from train station, the station road there, my one station road back to Enugu. I think the train station in Port Harcourt is functioning, if I'm not mistaken. So I want to see that station to kick off properly, so that we begin to see how we start to export petroleum products by way of the railway, rather than using these truck tankers that are also helping in destroying our roads. Let us start to convey these petroleum products to all parts of the country via the train. We move them from the refinery, from the depot to wherever it is, supply them to the hinterlands via the train route. I think it is going to help us a lot to take care of this thing. But once we get our rail system right, I mean, 60% of Nigeria's economy, we have gotten it right.
Okay, we lost the call. Okay, quickly, the last one before I go to Kaduna studio is what Ad Buhari says, I urge the minister to make it e-ticket or buying through banking. God bless APC government. It's just a suggestion. You addressed that earlier on.
I say we have about 2 months to commence e-ticketing.
Okay. And you have said that will check a lot of corruption. And,
of course. Both on the two sides, on the side of the passenger and on the side of the government.
Okay, well, let's go to Ango. Ango, what PPP modem will you suggest in all this, in case the operations commence fully? Well, we'll get back to, the MD of Nigeria Railway Corporation is up again, and we can see him. Now, okay, so good to have you back. Now, we have taken much of the time. If all works out, are you in sync with the states where your rail tracks pass through? How are you working with them currently?
I would say that what we are trying to do is to encourage them to link within their state so that they can have what we call branch lines, linking because what we have now is a national rail, not to stop the state if they have the fund or have the desire to also link other areas. What they do most times is trying to impress on the minister the trade must get to law and act permits us, like Lagos State. They got permissions, the relevant permission, and they are constructing. Cross River did the same thing, and we are encouraging them and collaborating with them. And anytime they say they need our attention, we give them 100% attention so that we can encourage them to also introduce rail service in their states. So we are talking with them, but nothing meaningful has come out of it. So I will leave it at that.
Signal challenge. What's your last thoughts before signing off?
I will say that the things the present government is doing is for our own good. It's not for the president, it's not for the minister, it's not for the MD, it's for the generality of the people. We should try and make good use of it and protect it so that the track is called permanent way. It's ever
If you can hear me, thanks so much for being on Tuesday Live tonight. We are quite challenged with your signals from Lagos. Now, back to Kaduna Studios. I asked Ango earlier on, what PPP modem will you suggest from your own professional standpoint if the entire network is fully operational?
Like I said, in my opinion, what I can see is in terms of rolling stock, especially for cargo, for tanks, like moving liquid or related fuels and things like that. I believe a lot can be done in that respect. The MD had mentioned relationship with some state governments in terms of the light rail system, which the state governments some state governments are doing. That is another way of cooperation. In Kaduna here, for example, we have had this time when one of the state governors then had an arrangement with Nigeria Railway Corporation, whereby they were doing some intra-city shuttles, that can be done. Like I also said, other things, services can also be done at the terminals, which can also be done on the basis of PPP. That is my opinion. That is the little I know. I'm not an expert in rails, but the little I know about rails, I believe these are areas in which we could have some form of PPP.
As a last word from your end, what's your take?
I hope is that we should have this Kano-Kaduna line, we should start work on it as quickly as possible so that, and also at the same time, start the, like the minister said, they have signed the contract, start the Itakpe or Jakarta to Abuja. That way from Kano all the way to Ori, it will be possible to carry goods and services and people, so that would be good. I will appreciate and I will hope to see the continuation of the Ibadan to Mina and ultimately to Kaduna. That would be very good. And all the others. What I hope is that whether it is by loan or by whatever arrangement, we should have cooperation of the legislature and the executive and everybody concerned so that we have this infrastructure. What we need in this country to develop is infrastructure. And one of the most important is transportation infrastructure. And the most important out of all of it is railway infrastructure. So I believe, like the Honorable Minister said, if we had used our money when we had so much of it, it would have been history now. Nigeria need to do that. Another thing I think we need to do is to link up, to some parts of West Africa, just like is already on the plan to take rails from Kano to Katsina and to Maradi. That is a strategic move. That is a very strategic move. In the same way, if we can take some train services to Cameroon or to Chad, those areas that are hinterland, that would be very strategic, because Europe is connected, by rails. Africa needs to be connected somewhat. I know we have to get it here in Nigeria right first, but I think we should have the African Afrocentric view, and interest, for our own economic interest, Nigeria being the powerhouse, the largest economy in West Africa. We need to do that. So if it is by borrowing or by whatever means, so long as we get this infrastructure, I think it's the right way to go. And I pray that this government is able, despite all the challenges, to continue with this railway expansion master plan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yushao Ango, Associate Professor of Business Entrepreneurship, Dean Postgraduate School, Kaduna State University. It was nice having you on the program tonight. And I hear Mutaka Usman is back, Professor of Economics. And let me throw a similar questions to you. Sorry, we lost your signals at some point. And the question I ask you before I take your last thought is, what PPP modem will you suggest to government if the entire rail network in Nigeria comes fully operational?
Sometimes terms are used, but the most essential thing, PPP is built on three pillars. One, build, operate, and transfer. Refurbish, operate, and transfer. And management contract. In terms of rail in Nigeria, none of these applied. So therefore, the terms of PPP does not arise. Because if you look at even the BPE reports on the privatization of public enterprise, 70% of the privatized company collapsed in the second year. So therefore, is the government to be efficient, not to rely on the other private sector to leverage. It's private sector that will leverage on the public sector, not private sector.
Turn on the volume of the television set, please. It's interfering.
So on that basis, that I felt that government should be up running and making it efficient.
Well, Well, at this point, we can hear a lot of interference from your end. Let me sign you off and tell you thank you so much for being on the program tonight.
Much.
Okay, back here, your Honourable Minister, we have heard it all. Before we go back to a conclusion, what's your plan towards the disbursement of cabotage funds to local maritime operators? Cabotage funds. Any plans?
Well,
let's veer off a bit.
We've gotten the presidential approval last year. We are battling with the CBN to release the funds. So commercial bank has allowed by law before we can proceed with the process of disbursement. The most critical part of disbursement is approval by the National Assembly or the Senate. Is it the Senate or the National Assembly on the requirements that parties applying may have to comply with before they can benefit from the funds. When we get all that sorted out, then we'll proceed with disbursement.
One will simply ask, if this happens or does not happen, what does the economy stand to gain or lose?
No, if it does happen, then the tie-down funds will be spent on the economy. So it will create employment, it will create business, it will purchase materials that are required in the economy. There will be vessels in the economy. So it's the huge benefit. If it doesn't happen, then all those funds will just be lying at the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Okay, I began this program by asking you, when you were named and sworn in as the Minister of Transportation, Federal Republic of Nigeria, you met just at the stage of not completed, Abuja, Kaduna. Now you have gone this far. Did you imagine you get to this stage?
But that's why, after thanking God for life, for giving the strength to proceed, for helping to put a government in place, the government led by President Buhari, the next person to thank is President Buhari himself. Because you're a strong minister. Everybody's a strong minister. You are as strong as the president wants you to function by the availability of resources. Because it's not all the ministers that have equal resources. So when they say, oh, other ministers are not performing, they are all performing. They are all very qualified men. They are experts in their field. But the point is availability of resources. And we must realize that we came in at the point when you don't have enough resources to execute all they want to execute. We want to provide water for everybody. Where is the money? We want to provide housing. I see my colleague and friend, Babatunde Fashola, screaming about social housing to grow the economy, to provide accommodation and all that. Good idea, good intentions for how much you have, even if they are building. I see the Minister of Power. Look, we can actually provide power, but you don't really have to have the money to provide the power. So we are lucky and fortunate that the President continues to encourage us to get money from outside for most of these projects, believing that, and I think I'm assuming that I know what the President is thinking, that if you conclude these projects and they are propelling the growth of the economy, it is to the benefit of Nigerians. Just don't steal the money like it was done in the past. Just ensure that any money we get is applied to the development of those projects, which in turn will grow the economy. The President is good to go. So because we have those resources, we are able to apply them. So we've completed Itabe to Warri, we've completed Kaduna to Abuja. By now we should have completed Lagos to Ibadan, and we should have commenced in May or June Ibadan to Kano. In fact, we are also hoping that if it was for COVID, before December we should have commenced Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. But unfortunately, COVID and the chase for resources, which is not only by Nigeria, other countries are running to China. Nearly 50% of Africa.
That now leads me to this question. Because some will say, why take the loan? Why take loan? Now, if a group of private sector practitioners who are stakeholders in the real sector come to you as the minister, say, we have this much and we can run this particular corridor.
That's operation?
Yes.
Oh, we're ready to go. We're willing to let them.
Are you available to them?
Tomorrow morning, if you see anybody, I would have said this night, but everybody's going to bed in the next few hours. So tomorrow morning, if anybody wants to operate in we'll give you a franchise, but you have to pay.
Okay. Very final one is the Nigerians. You could see that most of the tweets coming were questions on you, e-ticketing, the issue of affordability, all that. What word of encouragement do you have for Nigerians who look up to this project for employment, who look up to this project to better their lives for easy transportation. You heard the man who called from, was it Ibadan, talking about he saw yams, he could not buy the quantity because there was no rail.
No, the first thing to do is to thank them for their support. In fact, I thought with all the attempt by the opposition party to incite Nigerians against us over the loan, that by now they will have cut off our neck. But for every place I go, if it's a train ride, you won't believe it, the other day, I rode the train from Warri to Itabe. I got to Itabe past 1. At 1:30, that's when I got to Itabe. You would have thought that anybody would have attacked us. Yes. You would have thought that anybody would have attacked us. There was nobody. For every village you pass, people were jubilating and waving at us. And that celebration alone gives me self-satisfaction. That's as an individual. As an economy, AKK will not be successful if we don't finish Itabe to Warri. They've come to talk to NRC. All their pipelines will be moved from Warri Seaport to Itabe, to Ajokuta, where the gas pipeline will take off. So imagine that we had not completed the what's it called? The Itabe to Warri.
Yes.
They will have to truck those gas pipelines by road from Warri or from Lagos to Ajokuta. It takes us 14 days to move from Lagos with one coach to Abuja. 14 days. Imagine what you could have done with those 14 days. Now, if you construct the rail from Lagos to Abuja, it takes you 1 day. Just 1 day, you will get to Abuja. In fact, 1 day is too much. It takes you 8 hours to get to Abuja from...
by rail.
By rail. By rail. There's no police checkpoint. There's no customs checkpoint. There's no armed robbery. Just pay for your ticket and you'll be found where you're going to. So, the word I have for Nigerians, I'm grateful. I'm even grateful to the National Assembly for the support. Just imagine that the National Assembly refuses to approve the borrowing plan. It will see him, because the law says you
but
cannot...
still work in progress.
Yes. Well, that's, I mean, the ones that they've approved.
Yes.
I'm not even saying that they refuse to approve the others. I'm just saying that those investigations they are carrying out now is making the Chinese government question the request for loans. If they allow us to get the loans, they can question. We are prepared to give every available answers that they want from us, because it is their power. You can't deny them that authority. So we're moving from law to national interest. That's what we're moving to. So okay, fine, you have law on your side, but allow us complete what we're doing that affect the national interest, that will create job for the poor. Okay, they have politicized even reconstruction. So if I go now, somebody from the southeast will say, oh, you don't have rain on our side, you don't like us. You go to Kano, Kaduna, oh, you're not a good man, you don't give up. Allow us get this rail to areas that require them to serve economic purposes, and then you can investigate if we did apply the necessary requirements by law. If we did not, you sanction us.
Okay, still waiting for your last word to Nigerians. I believe I listen to you.
What I'm saying is that I'm grateful to them. Yeah. I'm grateful to the president. I'm grateful to God. Many things have happened, and say to them, let them be patient with us. I'm believing that if we're able to secure the loans that we're looking for, most parts of Nigeria under the Buhari administration would have these rail services.
Okay, but what do you make of sustainability in terms of follow-up even after your time?
Currently, and I don't support it completely, but currently there's a maintenance agreement between us and the Chinese company, but it can't last forever. So what have we done to ensure that, knowing that this won't last forever, what have we done? That's why we established the University in Daura to train and transfer that technology, so that we understand the Chinese technology in railway construction and railway, the rolling stocks that are manufactured in China, so that we ourselves can either manufacture or maintain. Now, you're aware that the vice president laid the foundation stone, right? And that foundation stone is where we intend to begin to build coaches and locomotives and wagons. So first and foremost, in the next 5 years, after construction, they will be doing assembly. After 5 years, they will begin to manufacture. And Nigerians will have to study how to do that, so they themselves can manufacture. We are even going to learn how to construct rail tracks. And so we can do our own rail tracks, the way the Chinese do themselves, to copy it from others.
Thank you so much, Minister of Transportation, Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi. It was nice having you on Tuesday Live tonight.
My pleasure.
That's it on the program. I must say, to Zaria and Lagos, it was not our making. The signals collapsed at some point. Couldn't go the whole hawk onto the program. That's not the program tonight. Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.
Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online, or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
NTA Parliament is a dedicated 24-hour channel that broadcasts activities of the Nigerian Senate, Federal House of Representatives, and all the 36 state houses of assembly. NTA Parliament, strengthening Nigeria's democracy.
Will create dependable streams of income flows, independent of your main source of income. The time to act is now. Begin implementing this practice, and before you know it, within months, you can be enjoying the benefits and the financial security and freedom that comes from having multiple streams of income.